Hey guys! So before I really get into today's video, I wanted to start off by apologizing for the footage in this video. It's not extreme, but there are several points in this video where you lose a little bit of the footage. And this was because I was experimenting with live streaming, and something about YouTube or my internet was messing with the recording, and it would only stream for a few minutes at a time. So I didn't realize that it was doing this at first, and I lost a little bit of the footage. But it's nothing too severe, and it's pretty much self-explanatory what I did lose, but I thought I would mention it beforehand. So looking a little closer at today's actual piece, I think it's fairly obvious that I wanted to work with a different subject matter. Even though I love drawing people, this image just sort of came to my mind one day, and that is very, very rare for me as far as art is concerned. Typically, I have to spend a little more time developing pieces and really working at them and making sure that they will actually be what I want them to be. But because a recent endeavor of mine has been to be more relaxed with my artwork, I really wanted to just go with the flow of this piece and try to draw what I saw in my head. And that was a crow that was surrounded by flowers. And I really do like the way the piece turned out. It turned out basically how I saw it in my head, and it was different, and I think that's part of why I like it so much. I had recently been working in my sketchbook, and I had drawn some bird skulls because I thought they would be interesting to start incorporating into some pieces in the future, because stylistically they really seem to fit with the type of artwork that I like to create. And it was a lot of fun drawing those skulls. But I think that that's probably part of the reason that I had birds on the brain in the first place. And it was really probably the main reason that this piece came to mind in the way that it did. And in this particular piece, you can see where I incorporated the contrast that I seem to tend towards in my artwork. And the bird is a crow specifically, and a lot of times crows are very symbolic of death. And this is not always the case, but in a lot of different cases that is true. And I wanted to contrast the symbolism of death with life. In this case, the flowers, and they represent growth and beginnings and life in general. I've also really been enjoying working in a square format as opposed to a rectangular format, which is what I had been doing in the past. And this is not to say that I won't be working in a rectangular format anymore. Actually, I just completed a piece that was in a rectangular format. But I think sometimes I just want something that's subtly different. Nothing too extreme, just something that's subtle enough to push me outside of my comfort zone. When you change the format of your piece, you're sort of forced to compose the actual illustration in a way that you might not have initially planned to do so. And I find that pushing myself outside of that comfort zone a little bit is a very good way to keep myself in the mood to create, to not deal with an art block, which is something that I have also talked about recently. Something that isn't very related to a theme particularly, but that I still wanted to mention, was the fact that in this piece, despite the fact that crows are actually black in real life, I never used the color black in this piece. I feel as though black is a very stark color and a lot of times can feel unrealistic in your paintings. So in this case, I used a lot of blues, I used a lot of purples, and the darkest color I used was a Payne's Gray, even though I also incorporated some browns. And in the end, it looks like I used black, except there's a lot more variation to the actual shade of the bird itself. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how we sometimes get so caught up in the idea of what we draw or what we should be drawing that we don't allow ourselves to create what we actually want to create. And I think this is something that I particularly fall victim to quite a bit. And this piece was really my attempt at allowing myself to do what felt natural and what was coming to my head instead of overthinking it. And I think this also had a lot to do with the fact that I was on the tail end of an art block, and when I had gotten the idea for this piece, the last thing I wanted to do was over-criticize the piece itself and its composition and making sure it was absolutely perfect, because I feel as though that was probably what got me into the mess of my block in the first place. And I'm not sure why this happened out of nowhere, why all of a sudden one day I just felt as though nothing I was doing was turning out the way that I wanted it to. And I think the real key when it comes to things like that is to simply do. And I know it sounds cliche in a sense, it sounds pretty self-explanatory to tell you, oh, just do it. Just if you feel like you want to do something, do it. I know that's very self-explanatory, and I really shouldn't even have to say it, but I think as artists, we tend to get inside our own heads a lot, and at least that's the case for me. And I just wanted to let you know that it's okay. And I sort of feel as though part of my wanting to tell other people that it's okay is my way of confirming it for myself. It's kind of like when you say something over and over and over and over again, I feel like you are much more likely to start believing it yourself. And I don't want other people to fall victim to these same struggles that I have in overthinking things, in feeling bad about their art, to feel as though every single thing that they do has to be perfect no matter what, no exceptions. So if you feel like that, sometimes the best thing to do is draw the very first thing that comes to mind and do it again and again and again. And eventually, I think we will bring ourselves to a point where we are more comfortable with the things that we are actually creating. So if you like this piece, the original is available in my Etsy shop, and you can find prints in my Society 6 shop. There will be links in the description. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.